largest penitentiary in the United States of America, 5,000 people. They got Rambo knives this big, okay? Everything is in effect. And that's what I said, that you do not take into consideration some things and how I feel. If you're sleeping on.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We're talking to you guys really quickly, about couples retreat. And I'm saying that, this situation we just see from this couple here, men don't need a safe space in this instance. They need a therapist. Okay. And I think I have to be very clear about that. The older we get, the more mature we should be getting, the more wiser should we be getting, right? Now, at 20, I remember at 20 years old, I personally, I don't say 20, but 20 to 25, I remember I wasn't that great at expressing how I felt. I found it very difficult to express some of the deeper things that I'm thinking and some of the deeper thoughts that I had in my mind, right? And I needed a safe space to be able to do so, right? But actually, I would have benefited from a therapist rather than having a girlfriend. And I think many men are in that space. This young man here, he's not as young as I'm saying, but this gentleman here is explaining to his girl, I think that's her name. I can't remember her name, but by the way, apologies. But he's explaining how for himself, he went to prison, and because of that, it made him a certain way. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Unless she's a therapist and knows how to ask questions to draw things out of you, you're gonna also have to learn how to be able to express yourself and be forthcoming. And if you can't do that, then we're gonna need therapy, not her providing a safe space. What does that mean? It means when we get to a certain age in this life, women should be choosing men that are emotionally intelligent and emotionally mature. At 20, we understand nobody's really there at that point. 30, 40, especially at 40, we should be choosing people. Women need to choose men that are emotionally present and emotionally available and emotionally mature. Now, of course, that means the pool is very small, but that's the best chance of you being able to make a successful relationship. Because when you don't choose that, we have these type of situations where right now, the only reason why he's talking is because he's on a TV show and it's AJ. But had she, I'm sure if she had suggested, let's go to a therapist, he'd have been like, no, I don't need it. But you do, because the way you're reacting to certain situations. And so, and let's be honest, a lot of the issues can be solved by having somebody as a third party who can actually listen to him unadulterated without having to think about time or effort or energy it's going to take to be able to listen to you. But let's talk a little bit more, because I think it's a really important topic. And so I'm going to play a few more clips from the show. So if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor. You like this video, you share it, you subscribe to the channel as well. Okay, we're going to get into this conversation a little bit deeper as well.
On steel, right? I have to get a comfortable position, so I sleep a certain way now. And it's something that I try to get out of because I realize I do have a partner now. Because the way that it seems as if, oh, my back's always to her, but it's just something that's really stuck with me that I'm trying to break.
Now, this was such a breakthrough moment for the couple, and I'll tell you why. He actually explains that, because of prison, he slept with his slept in a particular position, right? And one thing, obviously, once he's in the bed now, he finds it hard to, change that particular emphasis. I'm sure maybe he sleeps on the left-hand side, and so probably wants to have his back, probably wants to have his face towards the door, not the back. You know what I mean? And I mean, an easy solution would be for him to just turn, just to him to sleep the opposite way and face the door, but sleep behind her. But anyway, yeah, it depends what the door is actually, I guess. But anyway, yeah. So I think what's key about this is the explanation of the reason why he does what he does. And I always say this: once somebody explains something and it can be understood, empathy can begin to reign. A lot of times, people struggle to be empathetic towards you because they don't understand you, or they don't understand people like you. And so he's been suffering in the relationship, making her suffer in the relationship, because he refuses to bring her into an understanding. Because the reality of the situation is, you believe she can't handle your truth. You believe that she won't be able to understand where you're coming from. And because of that, you don't tell her that. And when you don't do that, you don't also trust her. And then she feels like you're not trusting her with information. That creates a chasm and a rift between the two of you. What is it that and so if you're somebody watching this, man or woman, and especially the men as well, if there's something you haven't told your partner that is contributing towards a relationship, I need you to let them know, right? And if you're not even aware of that, slow down, ask yourself some real questions as to why there's a gap in the relationship. Why is there space in the relationship? And maybe I should change this video title to why there is space between us. And maybe I'll do a second video about it, right? but a space between you because you're not emotionally plugging the gap. And so because of this lack of information, she's she's not able to understand everything that's going on. It looks odd, and it looks like the natural conclusion, which is you don't like me. And we already know about his controlling behavior. And the reality of the situation is in prison, he would have to control, because if he doesn't, he could be hurt and he could be killed. So he's still in survival mode. This is why he needs a therapist, not a safe space, because a safe space might still not solve this issue. He needs somebody who's got willing time and energy to plow into him for as long as he needs to hear his thoughts without feeling like, you know what, I'm doing too much, right? Very, very important.
Is this something you've talked about?
No. This is just something that I know.
That's amazing. That's important.
Yeah.
I have worked with some gentlemen who have been incarcerated. There's just so much.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that AJ has actually worked with men like this. This is why she has a unique perspective and insight, and probably why she was able to ask questions the way she does, right? Very similar to like when I'm coaching people, I want to ask certain questions to unlock them. Like, yeah, I see that, but I see something else, you know? And so when I ask the question, it hits in a way that the person is able to release certain information. But again, that's almost a therapist kind of coaching technique that, you know, is a gift. It's not what expected in a relationship. You can't expect people to have that level of skill to ask a question to unlock you. And even with my skill in a relationship, I don't want to be your therapist, right? So it's important that emotionally we're able to open up to each other. Emotionally, we're open to sharing thoughts and ideas with each other. And sometimes that means sharing some of the bad things that have happened to us that have contributed to where we are right now. And so what they just said there is, did she know? His wife didn't know. But now she has some insight. Now she can have some grace and some mercy. Now, this is not going to solve their whole entire issue because there are bigger issues at play here. But again, it's very important to see that aspect come into play. A little bit longer and we'll finish this.
That they have to deal with now that this new life starts. So I just think we have to take one day at a time. And I think with more healing, there'll be less control.
And that's a buck right there, AJ. Put it on a nail on the head. With healing comes more. With healing will come less control, because he's controlling because of the brokenness in himself. But the brokenness is coming from the PTSD. It's coming from the fear factor. It's coming from the fact that he was in prison and, you know, his life was always under threat. And almost like a soldier coming back from war, he's still got that mindset. And it's very hard to get out of that mindset that you're not in a war front. Very difficult. So in the same measure for him, he's got that same PTSD. And so in a relationship, things become war. Things become a fight. Things become a battle. And so the control is, you know, if you're in an army or whatever, you knew that things were life and death. And that's probably how he probably sees things as well. Decisions are life or death. I ain't got time to wrestle and discourse with you when things are life and death. And the reality of the situation is things aren't life and death. I mean, it can be, but they're not life and death. But because of the way he's been reared, of course, that's going to be the mindset and the thinking that's going to be behind it. So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked.